Paddy come, Paddy, Paddy, Paddy. Bones, where's my bones? Bones, where's my bones? I grew up in a wonderful neighborhood on the edge of Boston. It was called Pale Hill. It was a neighborhood of big old-fashioned houses. They called it Pale Hill because there were doctors all over the place. Moved in when I was 7 years old. 32-room house. And the grounds were not very big, but they were landscaped by Olmsted, who laid out buffalo. My parents, they didn't have any money. They were teachers. But they discovered that after World War II, nobody wanted to heat the big old houses. So my parents bought it for almost nothing, and they didn't heat it. I can remember opening the door for a dinner guest saying, "May I take your coat?" She said, "You certainly may not." As a little boy, what I loved to do was run out through the kitchen, down the outside back stairs. We were right in the corner, so this particular hill led down to a women's hospital, so we called it Forceps Avenue. So I'd run down Forceps Avenue, and halfway down there was a sloping woods, and I would run into that woods, and that's where it was. The big tree. This was a gray, massive beech tree, rough like an elephant's trunk, 7 realms high, different world up there. I loved climbing that tree. I'd be up in the tree, and it's supper time. Dad would come out in the outside back stairs. Coming to all the neighbors would be calling their dogs, and their children would be running up, and Florence Beam would be calling her mutt, Putty. Putty! Putty come! Putty! We know why Putty didn't come. Florence Beam could be difficult. One night she said, "Get over here, get over here. I don't approve of the school you're going to. There are delinquents down there at the bottom of the hill, tenement section children. We should bulldoze the tenements." I said, "What would happen to the people?" "They're not people, they're Catholics." She said, "My father used to say something very wise. The path to the Holy Grail leads straight to Harvard Yard. You'll never get to Harvard from St. Mary's." She went to her door, opened it up, and said, "The Pope is a dangerous man," slammed the door. Florence Beam, she could be difficult and scary. Right next door, though, the Lawrences, we loved the Lawrences. Mrs. Lawrence was a wonderful eccentric, my mom's age. She would be calling her sausage dog Jones, but she always called him Bones. She would say, "Bones, where is my Bones? Bones." I loved her voice. She was the Greek chorus of the neighborhood. She had been summa cum laude at Wellesley in ancient Greek. I think part of her mind was back there. She loved to talk to the dog. She'd say, "What have you been reading today, Bones?" Everyone loved Dr. Lawrence. But one night he came home, he said, "I don't like you talking to the dog." She said, "Why not? I didn't say anything important." Everything Mrs. Lawrence did was so interesting to me. So that brings me to the first short story, Electra. When we were little kids, we lived in a house far from the road, and then we moved to Pale Hill, a neighborhood with houses close together. 2 days after moving in, my sisters and I went up the outside back stairs. We looked across the street. There were neighbor girls playing our age. We wondered, did we dare cross the street without an adult? We had never crossed the street without an adult in our lives. We started down the outside back stairs, and there was a black railing. It was wobbly, felt alive. It was like the long neck of a black pony. Got to the bottom, and there was a little brick in area, orange bricks, like a smile. We took 2 steps, gray steps, and then we were stepping down on a sidewalk where people walk. You could almost feel 1,000 invisible feet. But did we dare cross the street without an adult? I looked at my younger sister, Kathy. She was 5. She had green eyes that had fun all by themselves. Then I looked at Patricia, my older sister, 9. She had freckles that changed places when she got mad. I was 7, skinny, had a cowlick, and we did it. We started across the street. We got halfway across, we kept going. We crossed the whole street. The neighbor girls were amazed. They ran to the fence and stared at us. We had crossed the Great Black River. I looked at them. I didn't know what to say to them, so I said, "You see a pear tree in the yard? I could climb and throw pears at you." So they laughed, and we were friends. They said, "Come on in, we'd play tag." And we pushed the wooden gate. It was old wood. It felt like dry toast. It was on a little slopes. When it closed, it went bonk, bonk. I loved that sound. We were running around the sausage dog. he was kind of nipping at me. Hey, Joan, now don't nip at me, Joan. We're having great fun, except Joan's a sausage dog. No, Joan, don't nip at me, Joan. Just then the door opened. It's the first time we saw their mother, Mrs. Lawrence. She was long and angular. She said, Bones, why does one bark, Bones? I thought that was interesting. She said, children, on Wednesdays we have cookies and Dickens. Cookies and Dickens, great. The five of us went up the stairs, round the hall, down in the old-fashioned living room. Everything was old. Old chairs, old sofas, books sticking in and out. Everything was old except a bright red rug. The Lawrence girls said, don't drop the cookies on the rug. Dad loves the rug. He just got it. The five of us plopped onto the couch. Cookies and Dickens. I thought Dickens was going to be a kind of ice cream. Turned out to be a book. And she had it and we were trapped. She said, I see dismay. I think I'm going to like Dickens. He loved his characters. I'm going to read about Mr. Micawber. He was always in arrears. Kathy laughed. She thought that meant his bum. She read 15 minutes. It wasn't too bad. Next two Wednesdays, we had cookies and Dickens. Then one cold Wednesday, she said, children, it's freezing out. I've lit a fire in the fireplace. The ashes remind me of Electra. I played it in college. Come in, we'll do a scene. Well, my sister Patricia was excited. Patricia was dramatic. She would get through half the Lone Ranger program, run out every time saying he's going to die this time. So she ran in, asked about the play, my dears, by Sophocles. He was a happy man who wrote sad plays. The play's about nothing. It's a lament. It gives you a chance to say, woe is me, doesn't it, Bones? I'm Electra. You'll be the chorus, page 42. The play begins. She got very still. She started to shake. And she said, my wretched house of woe knows well how I bewail my fate. She did a long speech. Patricia said, she's really good. Now, children, you're the chorus. We put our five heads together. Courage, Electra, courage. Zeus is in the heavens, Zeus is in the heavens. You're a wonderful chorus. We were a terrible chorus. That night at home, Kathy, she went up to bed with a stomachache saying, woe is me. After that, everyone, even Dad, would go, woe is me. One snowy Wednesday, she said, children, why don't we try the chorus again? So we tumbled in, we got the playbook, we were about to be the chorus. The back doorbell rang. It was a faceted doorbell, glass. You would pull it out and it would stagger in, go ding, 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 drive the sausage dog crazy. The sausage dog was running down. We went running down. Mrs. Lawrence followed us. We opened the door and there he was. It's a big man in a nice black coat and rosy cheeks. He had a hat on. He had a suitcase. He tipped his hat and said, Madam, I'm your Electrolux representative. She said, Electra, Electra. Come in, Mr. Lux. Well, Mr. Lux came in. We went all the way down to the living room. Mr. Lux took off the hat and the coat, and then he opened the suitcase. Inside was an Electrolux vacuum. It was long like a sausage dog. He attached everything. Then he was like a magician. He got down on his knees and he held up a black cloth bag about the size of his shoe. He moved it so slowly. Then he dumped what was inside onto the red rug. It was soot, a mound of soot. 3 inches of black soot on the red rug. He was so brave, but what if the vacuum didn't get it up? But he wasn't afraid. He stood up and he lifted his foot. He was going to put it on the start button. Mrs. Lawrence said, nay, nay. First, you should be the chorus. Show the children what a chorus could be, page 42. He was kind of smiling. She said, I'm Electra. You're the chorus, the play begins. She started to shake, and then she said, all is misery. He wasn't smiling anymore. She took him by the lapels and she said, I have no loving champion. She did a long speech with her back to him. We were used to this. He wasn't. He was packing up fast. When she turned around, we heard the door slam. We looked out. He was running down the path. She said, we'll go on with Dickens. We went on with Dickens until Dr. Lawrence got home. Well, the sausage dog ran down to greet him. So did the Lawrence girls. We waited with Mrs. Lawrence. And then Dr. Lawrence came in with his laughing shoulders. He looked at the soot on his red rug. He said, what's that? Mrs. Lawrence stood up slowly and she said, it's all that's left of the chorus.